Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the YouTube account, and thank you so much for joining me for our Sunday stream. A little bit earlier today, we know it is the day before the holiday, and also the kids are headed back to school on Tuesday, so we have a lot going on. Look at that, Withered Milk, King is here as well as Ryan. Again, thank you guys for joining me. We wanted to do kind of a Q&A. We do this every now and then where question and answer. If you have questions, definitely pop them in there. We can go through some regular gameplay. We can take a look at a bunch of different things that are always AFK arena related or not. What is going on, Mesmer? And Logan is here as well. So campaign progression, we haven't made any or really pushed any campaign progression in a significant amount of time. Now, of course, when it comes to campaign progression, there isn't a big reason to. You do get kind of limited resources out of the campaign. And I feel like even thinking of when we did AFK companions, they're going to have to do something to kind of adjust the campaign, make it worth the time and effort that it takes to get through these stages. So it's pretty interesting. And you'll also notice here, and I've kind of seen, since we've been building up a bunch of different heroes, Ivan right there was on Lavatune. So again, it's interesting to see kind of how they're building out. Now we put out the tier list yesterday. So the September tier list, because today, of course, is September 1st. I didn't want to miss the tier list. Put the new tier list up. So if you got questions about that, definitely go ahead and drop those in there. We'll run through a bunch of different modes. Does Awakened Chimera need the 60 engraving? So the thing with the Awakened version of Chimera is the better that you have her built, and honestly, the 60 engraving with an Awakened hero, the easy answer, Logan, is yes. The reason being, if you don't have this 60 engraving, you're going to be missing a chunk of the skills that she has. That is very, very specific to our Awakened heroes, is when you look at having the rest of the abilities, not only is Chimera based on HP, so Chimera is a hero that all of her skills and abilities are based on the hit points that this hero has. So she is pretty unique. Most of them are based on the attack, most of them some defense, but she is based on the HP, which we've seen with some other heroes. But when it comes to the HP, the higher you build her, the better you build her, the better she's going to perform. And like I said, especially when it comes to these Awakened heroes, if you're missing some of the skills and abilities in here, they are going to be kind of downgraded quite a bit. A lot of players will even build them, not do the engraving at all, which again is missing a big chunk of their skills and abilities. They require a big build out. It is just really the nature of the beast when it comes to these heroes. They are a lot more expensive to build out, and they require a lot bigger and a lot more expensive build, honestly, to go ahead and build those out. What's going on, Don? Do you just copy the campaign formations? I don't have Thoran cheese, and I always need to make the 6 team or improvise. I usually do. And the reason why I do, and it's for me, it's very easy just to copy the formations because I do have all of the heroes. So I have all of the heroes built. We can go ahead, we can do some summons in here. But when it comes to campaign formation, the Thoran cheese is really almost a necessary evil at this point, especially if you're pushing any level deficiency. Most of the players do run the Thoran cheese. And look at that, a brand new subscriber. Thank you, Doug, for subbing to the channel. But like I said, at this point, the Thoran cheese, even right here, it is almost a necessary evil. The thing is, when you start getting to very, very high level deficiencies like we're at right now, without the Thoran cheese, trying to make a 5th team or trying to get something to fit in here, even looking at some of the heroes, at a much higher level, they are still using the Thoran cheese like players are in the lower level. There are going to be some formations, of course, that might not have it in here, but a majority of players, and this one doesn't contain the Thoran cheese, majority of players are doing the Thoran cheese, and traditionally, it takes a lot of time. The Thoran cheese and also the Mahira combo. So looking right here with the Mahira combo. This is another one. It has a massive, massive RNG effect, and it takes a long time. It does take a long time to get this to work, and the methodology behind it is build up Thoran. And Thoran doesn't also require a big build. That is the other thing to remember is Thoran doesn't require a maximum build, doesn't require a huge build for Thoran to work and to work well. He will work even without being built in that entire formation, which again, you could change it up with a few formations, but it's hard to find players that are not using it when you start getting into those higher level deficiencies. What is the best way to get the Awakened hero cards? The only way, honestly, if you're free to play, going in here is the store. When you look at the multitude of ways, so buying them every single day out of the store is a big part. But looking at the Dream store, you're going to get cards in here. Looking at the Guild store, you're going to do the exact same. You're going to get time emblems out of here to get the Awakened Heroes. The Barracks needs to be redone. This is a shop that needs to be redone. Labyrinth is just going to build up your heroes. And then, of course, Challenger store, going to build up your heroes, but also give you access to a couple heroes. Other than that, it's really whatever you get from events. When you think of farming cards, the other place, if you're willing to do or purchase the deluxe monthly card, this is the other place that we do get them every single day. They are right here. So when you think of getting 30 cards every single month from the store, 500 diamonds each, if you get this reward card, if you get the deluxe monthly card, you can essentially double the amount of cards that you're getting. So instead of getting those 30 from the store, you are actually getting 60 with this. Now, in addition to that, it also does give you right here, you get red chests out of here or baits, whatever you need, and it does give you the elemental cores. So when it comes to getting this chest specifically, you do have the ability to build Awakened Heroes a lot faster than you normally would if you didn't pick it up. Again, if you're free to play, unfortunately, you're not going to have any access to it, and the cards are just going to be built. And when it comes to the Awakened Heroes as well, focusing on building one at a time, I cannot stress exactly how important that is. And even here, all of our noble societies are done. But when you start looking at building the Awakened Heroes and really the Celestials and the Hypos, build one at a time. Only focus on one at a time. That is what you have to do. Focusing resources, focusing time and effort into that on a regular basis. And you'll notice right here, 6 days offline for spaghetti. So unfortunately, I think we're going to terminate this. We have to wait one more day. Most players I will see will join the Solemn Vow, and then they never join again, and we never see them again. So it's kind of sad to see. What do you need for the Thoran cheese? So Thoran cheese, the only thing you need really, technically, when you get to the very basic, is the plus 30 signature item. That's it. That is all you need. Now, of course, doing the engraving on him doesn't make a difference, and do not do the engraving, guys. Plus 30 signature item, and then the furniture. The 3 of 9 and the 9 of 9 will do very well. Again, not required. The only thing that is required, honestly, baseline for Thoran cheese is a plus 20 signature item. You can get it with a plus 20. Plus 30 does help a lot more. But again, the 20 can work. 30 is kind of almost required because you get to do it 2 times versus the 1 time. But a lot of players even just ran a baseline out of 20, still made it work. 30 is where I'd get, and honestly, 309 plus 30 signature item, 9 of 9 furniture. Do not do the engraving. There's no reason for it. There's not really any reason for it at all, honestly. Any guide for furniture for meta heroes? For most of them, Muhammad, so when you look at gear, it is going to be the point where you want to build 9 of 9. When you think about any of your meta heroes, and literally thinking of the tier list from last night, thinking of Laika and Shamira and Athalia, thinking of Liberta and Lucilla, thinking of Demia and Lavatune, all of them need 9 of 9 furniture. Really, if you're not going in here, if you're not min-maxing, if you're not building up the heroes, really past that 9 of 9 furniture, they all need it, and they all can benefit from the 9 of 9. Even thinking of that top SSS tier, but also the SS and the S tier. Honestly, the 9 of 9 furniture will be pivotal for a majority of heroes in AFK Arena, which is the reason why we just always build them out in their entirety. If you're looking at taking them past that 9 of 9 furniture, big thing to focus on is damage dealers. They are the ones that are required to have stats to really amplify the damage they have. Some of the support heroes kind of can use it as well, but when it comes to raw stats and when it comes to damage output, a lot of it is going to be based on exactly what you can do in here with building up the furniture much higher. And again, going past the 9 of 9, short of being a dolphin, a small whale, whatever, I wouldn't build any of them past the 9 of 9. There's not a tremendous benefit, but there can be a little bit of a benefit for getting them. Which should be the first awakened character? Personally, first awakened character, I would go with the awakened version of Athalia. This would be the first one. And again, when you think of utility, she's going to be able to, especially early, be able to run the Celestial Tower when you unlock it. Going to be very pivotal when it comes to the SP effect, when it comes to campaign formations, when it comes to tower progression, but also she is one of the heroes similar to Liberta that is used everywhere in AFK Arena. There's not a place where the awakened version of Athelia cannot be put in a formation, worked in a formation similar to some of the other ones, like in Chimera. You can build a lot of things around the hero, but without this hero, you're kind of missing the formation in its entirety. Caught a stream. Did we start early? Yes. Yes, I did. AFK Arena, free to play life. If you checked out his channel, guys, big content creator. I love the content he puts out. But yes, the stream is a little bit earlier today. We have a bunch of stuff going on outside. I know there's quite a bit. I have 200 Draconic insignias. I have L plus Queen and Lan. Honestly, if you're at 200, I would probably go with Lan. As when it comes to the Draconic heroes, Lan is and does have way more utility than we're seeing with any of the Draconic heroes. For a majority of us, we got Hilduin and we got Hilduin for free. When it comes to utility, Lan is one that you definitely would build out. And again, it goes into a lot of formations, even fits into a lot of formations that are not the Draconic specific formations, working in a bunch of different places. Withered, if you're looking to build out Gwen requires a 1-star to do the engraving. We've seen the difference when we had Gwen built up without the engraving, and then of course engraving her. It is a game-changing difference. It is what amplified, 5x her damage when we put the engraving on this hero. So if you want to commit and build Gwen up, she is probably, I would say the second. I think tier list wise, she was the second, making Lan the first priority, then Gwen, then Hilduin. And of course, Hilduin has a lot of utility when it comes to the mage support role, but there's a lot of heroes that do kind of similar what Hilduin does, but Hilduin just does it a little bit better. Gwen is worth it at the moment. Yeah, and that's it. So the other thing, Mesmer, to remember is if you can borrow a Gwen, that is the other thing, guys, that you always have to keep in mind is thinking of a hero like Gwen, and even right here, auto-lending all of our heroes. If you can borrow a copy of Gwen, it is going to keep you from having to build her. So even here at Ghostly, a couple of the copies, if you can just borrow a copy for the Cursed Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, you don't have to build her. That is huge. That is pivotal when it comes to this game. If you can just borrow, and I know a lot of players don't have Gwen built, but if you can borrow and just use someone else's copy, you don't have to worry about it. Personally, you don't have to do the time and the investment. We did that once upon a time. We did it with the awakened version of Baden. We actually did that for years, which is kind of crazy to think that we did borrow Baden for a while. But make sure that you're building out the mercs. Make sure that you're borrowing the mercs. Do not overlook that part. It looks like we have a new VIP code, but do not overlook the perk of borrowing heroes. That way you don't have to build them, or you don't have to essentially look at different formations. Even if I have a hero that's not built up to the place that I want them to be, you can borrow the hero and you can use them in there, which will work incredibly well. You can get most of the time cards from the tower. Yeah, the other place, when you think, Marco, so tower progression, let's look at my quest right here. Boom. Look at the tower progression. Now, this is another place where farming cards is going to be a game changer when it comes to Stargazer, when it also comes to the time emblems. Inferno Fortress level 900, there's 920, there's 940. Forsaken Necropolis, boom, there we go. Brutus Citadel, boom, there we go. 900 in both of them, giving us 400 elemental cores, boom, and there's 920, there's 940. That is 1,200 cores out of farming the towers. In addition to, we just got what, like 45 time emblems out of there. Farming the towers is literally the biggest priority that we have in AFK Arena. When you think of the events, you're going to go in Heroes of Espria, you're going to go in a couple different events. They're going to take a little bit of time, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Farming the towers religiously will get you the most benefit. Stargazers, all of your engraving emblems, all of your time emblems, everything is going to come out of there in their entirety. You can get so much out of the towers. And even now, I think I have them capped 940, 940. The rest of these towers, we're just continuing to make progression on a regular basis. I'm going to go ahead and answer some more questions, but we'll hop in here. We'll drop the formation. For here, I usually just pick a guildie like Ernesto. We go ahead and we just copy the formation, and then I let it run till it goes 1, 2, maybe 3 iterations. Then I switch up the formation with another guildie, and then we just continue to go ahead and let it run. For a middle late game account, what do you buy from the normal store? I'm just wondering if the base cores are worth the diamonds. So the way that I do it, Anthony, is I build them out and I build them out one at a time. So what I mean by that is when you look at the baits, the cores, the staffs, everything else that is worth the diamonds, in addition to getting those awakened cards or the cards themselves, I focus on one. Now, for instance, I bought the baits out for a while until I got to the 18, till I got Beast Resonance 18 from the shop. Is it worth the diamonds? Yes and no. The thing is, you're going to be able to get to a point where you have your baits already or your beasts already built up to 18. Don't have to worry about buying it anymore. Then I bought the cores once I got to a point of catching up all the cores. Then I've been buying the arcane staffs. We've been kind of going back and forth on all of those. And I just really chose one up into the point where I do like saving diamonds because we know there is going to be the next hero, I believe, is going to be a Celestial. That is what a lot of players are saying. The next hero is going to be a Celestial hero. So saving a little bit to build them out, definitely worth it. What is going on, Alfred Us? Thank you for joining us in the calendar event. There is a new event. Do you know what it's about? I'll have to look, Starduster. I haven't seen a lot of the new events. They run over and over. And I think that's kind of a little bit of a disappointment. Every now and then we'll see a change in an event or an alternate event, but usually it's just the same. Is it wrong to use Pulina and Cassius for food before even building them? So the thing, Duckface, with that is you're going to have the problem of not being able to go in and make progression as much as you want in the Dragonforge. That's where it's going to be. That's where you could be a little bit stuck on exactly where he's going to be. One question, what does the investment need for Misha to work? So Misha is really 209. That's where a lot of players have been building her. Alfredus is at a 209. Engraving, if you got the shards, go ahead. I'm not doing a 60 on her. And if you have the extra chest, you could do a 30. But overall, basic build that I've seen on her, Alfredus, is a 209. Getting the furniture built up is a bigger requirement than getting and building out the signature item. Yeah, Mesmer said, yeah, plus 30, 30 engraving, 9. And again, 30 engraving, when you think of shards, the very basic engraving in there for her, shards are cheap. You get them every single time. It is pretty cheap to build those out with the shards because you can buy them for gold every day. And you should be buying them. You should be buying your emblems. You should be buying the engraving mats, those shards out of the shop every day. And you should also be getting the essence every single day. Kind of religiously. Do I refresh the shop? I do not, Anthony. I do not anymore. And the reason being, when it comes to refreshing the shop, you could, and I know a lot of players that do, but you have to think about the impact kind of the diamonds. So if we're going in here and we're buying these out and then we're doing this refresh every single day, 100 diamonds a day, you know, it adds up. In 7 days, you're at 700 diamonds. You know, you're at 3,000 plus when you look at the refreshes. In addition, what are you really refreshing for? Again, I did for a while, but I'm at a point where I'm building out a lot more heroes. A lot of the resources I don't need as much. We're already at 920, level 921. So not a huge push to reset this. I am saving a little bit more diamonds for desired hero summons, for the Celestial, for the Hypos, making sure that we have a lot to build out of here. And we have continued to build these out religiously. Again, some of it seems like it's almost your preference on what you need and how you want to do it. You definitely could. I was thinking about building the Awakened version of Sophia. Still utility. A lot of utility with the Awakened version of Sophia. And then the other one with that is with Sophia is she is a support hero. So we're going to see a lot of utility carried forward with her, an Awakened support hero. And of course, the Mauler Tower. When you think of the Mauler Tower, 100% she is required to really have it. Who should I build between Gavis and Lucius? I would probably go with Lucius. The reason being, when you look at Gavis, of course, does have some utility, but he is kind of a support hero in formations. When you look at Lucius, Lucius is actually the best in slot for a couple different teams, but he does require a very high build out. I think engraving on him was 72. It did require a 40 signature item. Also did require as much furniture as you can put on there. I think the guide that we put out was like 18 to get up that defense, because of course, looking at the SP effect, the defense translates into his attack rating. So the higher and the faster you can build up the defense rating, the better Lucius is going to perform in there, which is crazy. I built 40 signature item on Scarlet. Scarlet still has a lot of utility, and Scarlet is still being used in the Nightmare Corridor. I do like her Logan. She is still being used quite a bit. Should I continue building Entendre? Oh, Entendre, that is a question. As much as I love and I built and I do like the Awakened version of Entendre, it seems like she is very niche at the moment. For an Awakened hero, I was hoping she would have a lot more utility than what we're seeing. And even now with a bigger build, I've only used her probably half a dozen times, which kind of sucks because we did build her out, as you can see right here. But overall, building her out, I don't know. We have to see where Eironn is. I mean, if you've already built her out to Mythic, and she's already almost there, but I don't know how much you're gonna use her. Gavis can be replaced. Lucius is used. Yeah, and that's the thing where Gavis kind of playing that support role. Yes, he can definitely be replaced, and that's where, again, kind of that mage support, Rimuru, Gavis, kind of looking at Hildwyn, they kind of play the mage support, almost damage mitigation factor. Lucius can't be, unless you can borrow. That's the other thing. What is going on? First time on the stream. Thank you for all the guides. Have 100K diamonds, been playing several years. What is the best investment for diamonds? Worth pulling the Draconic? No, Cam, it is not worth pulling the Draconic heroes in there with diamonds. I do not recommend it at all. If you have the diamonds, really Celestials and Hypos. Build out those Celestials and Hypos. Absolutely big priority. It's not worth it. Guys, when you look at the Draconic faction in general, when you look, even thinking of Nyla is good, Melion is good for the regular heroes, that's it. Nobody else is being, Pulina is not being used. Cassius isn't being used. And again, Highborns are kind of being used, but if you don't have them, they can be replaced in formations. I would not dump a bunch of diamonds. And I know we did. And some of the advice that I provide to you guys, my account is at a different level than we see a lot of accounts. We put quite a bit into AFK Arena. It's been 5+ years. And that's where even formations, things of that nature, guys, we have everyone built. We have just about everybody built, maybe not all max out signature items, but when it comes to the Awakened heroes, the Celestials, the Hypos, we build them out, and we build them out pretty well. That's the reason, when I go in here and we dump a bunch of diamonds into the Draconic heroes, it's because we have all of these heroes built out, and we do have, again, a ton of these heroes built out in their entirety. Thought Awakened Entendre is a special case, and that's it. So just like what Marco said, Awakened Entendre is very niche. It's a special case where, again, if you don't have her, you can go ahead and use other heroes in there. Will it be worth waiting to gather more insignias and possibly summoning for a better Draconic hero? Yes, Withered Milk, it could. And that's, again, very similar to what we've seen with the Temple of Time, is because of the sheer cost of the Draconic heroes, they're very expensive to build, meaning that you could be building out, and a lot of players went out and built out Gwen like I did. Then Lan came out. Lan, of course, has a lot more utility than Gwen, has a lot more utility than Hildwyn. If you would have saved your insignias, you could have built out Lan in the entirety. But again, looking back, hindsight's 2020, because we have been using Hildwyn and we've been using Gwen for an extended amount of time at this point. So again, you could really say, okay, don't build Eironn because we know there's another Awakened hero that is coming in the future. Then when you get there, you could say the exact same thing. Don't build out the Awakened version of Pharrell because there's going to be another hero that's coming in 2025. It's always the game of catch up, and that is the gacha games. It will never stop. There will always be a point in this game where you're catching up and you're chasing the heroes, the latest and greatest. That always comes out. And of course, that is by design. That is literally by design in AFK Arena gacha games. The power creep with the heroes itself, it will never end. We will see this forever. And again, it will never stop because it is by design. It is the way that the game is built. Now, of course, Diamonds and the Stargazer Scrolls, we are just waiting to see exactly who comes down the pipeline. Then Time Emblems, again, we're waiting to see who is going to finish out 2024 with our final and our last Awakened hero. And I believe we have some chests in here. I think we also do have some stones. There we go. So we have 10 stones out of here. I believe these were from the Misty Valley. if I remember correctly. What's going on, Darren? Awaken targets on a fresh account. Athalia. I like Athalia. A lot. Some players build Chimera, but I do like the Awaken version of Athalia. And look at that, Kanisa and Rook, and we got an Olgath. Double hypo right there. We got Ivan as well. The rest of those, of course, just going to be recycled. But that is 2, boom, hypos right there. Very, very happy to see. 1 superb elite stone, which gives us a copy of Guineas. Then, of course, we have our rare stone. Look at this, 43 rare stones. Guys, it's crazy how many stones we do get in here. Then, of course, in here, I'm wondering if that's going to give us the ability to add any more. And it looks like it does. It adds another star right there on Olgath. Now, of course, with some of these older heroes that we're getting, not a big necessity to build them. Used to be the best in slot for a considerable amount of time. At this point, a lot of the Celestials and the Hypos, not seeing a ton of utility, not seeing a ton of use anymore. Thinking about building Sophia or Lucius, both of them score work well. It's hard because of Sophia, again, with the Mauler Tower being used. I like Sophia. Lucius requires a very, very high build out. But again, both of them are being used. Lucius, probably Treasure Scramble Cursed Realm, would be used a little bit more. What investment? The priority for investment on heroes. Check out the guide. When it comes to that question, the big priority investment on heroes, you're talking 30 plus heroes. Yeah, there's a lot. Gavis can be replaced by Palmer. No, a couple. So Gavis, of course, some players even go as far as doing like Peanut, again, for the damage mitigation. But when you start thinking big picture of some of the support heroes that we have in our entirety, yeah, there's a lot that can be, as long as they're not like a support damage dealer like we see with Liberta, or a really support tank like Lucilla, even looking at like a Halos and a couple other ones, a lot of support heroes can fit the bill for another support heroes. It does work. What skill for Draconic Gwen collection? Honestly, damage. When you think, so physical pierce is the big one. So I have a collection right here. This is the one that I usually do run on the Draconic version. We have double physical pierce plus the skill level. We got some attack in there. This is going to be really, really big because again, with Gwen, you want to maximize the damage out there. Is Eugene worth maxing out? Eugene will come in time. So Eugene will come in time through regular build, through getting copies out of the guild shop. I would not maximize and really build out Eugene any single way, 0. I wouldn't summon for him in Stargazer. I wouldn't time emblem. I wouldn't do anything with Eugene in the entirety. He eventually is going to be maxed out when it comes to the guild store. It's just going to take some time. And when I mean time, I mean a crazy amount of time getting the copies out of here. But copy by copy by copy, eventually we will have him at 5 stars. But there's no reason to race to really build him out. Not a big reason. What about the Awakened version of Solus? She's another one that is still being used kind of in some niche cases, scenarios that we're still seeing her use. Again, at this point of AFK Arena, I wouldn't invest in her because we know there are more Awakened heroes coming this year, next year. You could even probably get her to Mythic. And utility-wise, I would probably borrow her. I feel like a lot of players have her at a point where you could use her, and she's not being used everywhere. That's the other thing to remember is she does have quite a bit of utility just based on the ability to do healing and also the damage. But building her out as a first generation Awakened hero, I probably wouldn't at this point just because she's going to be power creep on. And then when we have another Awakened hero that is support, might replace her in the entirety. I have Nyla at Mythic. Yeah, Nyla is big. Nyla is a hero that absolutely... when you think of utility, Nyla is one of the very, very high build utilities for a support hero and also for a damage dealer. When we were testing out Nyla when she came out, it was kind of crazy with the utility she was putting out. Pretty impressive overall. And it's funny because she almost looks like she's got a bubble in her mouth, like she's chewing gum or something. But Nyla is definitely one that does work out pretty well. I already built Liberta, Alna, Demia, Lavatune. Logan, I would go in there for Lavatune. I would go in there for Lucilla. Priority would be Lavatune, though. If you don't have Lavatune built. Lavatune is another hero. When it comes to utility, when it comes to tier list, absolutely top tier. This is a hero that we're seeing used everywhere, can fit into any formation. If you have, single formation, multiple formations, Lavatune will be used, and Lavatune is being used. Low on engraving, 60 resources. Who are the priority besides the Awakened hero? Looking at the 60 damage dealers. When you think of Liberta, when you think of Lucilla, when you think of heroes, even Demia does very, very well with the 60 engraving. But thinking of the bigger priority heroes within here, again, there's not a ton. Even Kelthan, we haven't built out to the 60 that you would build, but there are a couple of kind of basic heroes that I feel like do exceptionally well. But anyone that you're looking in that is a damage dealer, you got to really manage the resources, because I know even for me with the Awakened version of Eironn, we are out of resources in our entirety. The engraving, we're still trying to build this up, and there we go. Finally, with what we got today, there is the 60 Eironn. Wanted to unlock the rest of the skills and abilities. Now, of course, we have to wait and build up and see who is going to be coming next for that Celestial or the Hypo hero, who is going to be next. Starting again with building out the signature items, and then moving on to the engraving, moving on to the furniture and everything else that the hero has to offer. It just takes time. Like I said earlier, it is going to be a continuous build, and I don't know why it doesn't flag this. It is going to be a continuous build for these heroes forever. There's never going to be a point, where you're done building heroes. We're going to see them over and over again and again. It's never going to stop. Yeah, Lavatune, Lucilla, absolutely are two big top tiers. What is the minimum investment for Nyla and Lan? Do they work at Mythic? They do, but they do require a higher investment. And the big thing, even with Nyla, I know Lan is a signature item, plus 30, 9 of 9 furniture, 60 engraving, works well. Nyla is just about the same, because if you want to pull the damage, if you want Nyla to do the damage, especially with the stats, you have to have her built out. The plus 30 signature item, absolutely. The 9 of 9 furniture, yes, absolutely. You could go with the 30 or even the 44 engraving, giving her a little bit more of the damage stats. Don't necessarily have to take her to a 60, but again, you could build her and leave her a little bit lower, where Lan, being a highborn, absolutely is going to be the one that you have to build. What is the next Awakened hero to focus on? Depends. It depends who you have built. What's going on, Andre? I have Ascended Solus. I would do Athalia. Is Eugene worth maxing? No. Eugene is one, like I was saying with Eugene, eventually you're going to build him. Eventually he's going to be maxed out. But I would just wait. Can you do a guide on modifying collections? We can. I could put something together with modifying collections, but most of them is what you want to do. And the way that I looked at it is, when it comes to modifying collections, is looking at your best in slot collections and seeing what you can build higher. Like even here to modify, I built these two up with Physical Pierce. I built them higher. They're super, super ultra expensive, and really looking, so thinking of this and thinking of, it being the Ranger collection, what heroes are utilizing it? And then of those heroes, where do they fall in the tier list? So we have the Awakened version of Leica. We have Gwen right here. Both of them absolutely in the top tier. Then when we throw in the mix of a couple other heroes, that is the reason why I max out this collection. And you're going to have the exact same thing for every single faction, where if you're going in here and let's say you're building out the one, for Saurus, or if you're building out the one for Athalia, there's going to be a collection which is going to be built pretty well. And my collections actually suck. I'm sorry to say, as much as I've been building them out, yes, my collections are not by any means absolutely top tier, but I've been trying to really get them and build them out to farm out and unlock more of the collections. Even here, the collections are mediocre at best, I would say. I need to build out a lot more collections and focus on them a lot more. Which is better to Stargaze, Olgath or Kelthan? Kelthan. Kelthan would be the one right now to absolutely build. Olgath, unfortunately, power creep when it comes to damage is worth it. Is E80 Liberta worth it? I would not. So the big thing, Atlas, is a lot of my heroes, again, kind of based on my account, is the E80 on Liberta worth it? I would say I would not, unless you have all of your priority heroes already built out to a 60, 67, 68, whatever it is that they need to. Then I would look at possibly building them a little bit higher. The reason why I do is Treasure Scramble. So you'll notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have a bunch of heroes that do have our shiny E80 stars. Do I recommend it? Not at all, but you can see right here we're ranked 73. Mid-maxing for Treasure Scramble, Curse Realm, Nightmare Corridor. Super, super expensive to do, but the benefit is there if you're looking at, and if you have all of these heroes built out to where you need. That is the reason why we started building them higher, is really going in here and prioritizing the heroes within, game modes like the Treasure Scramble. And then, of course, looking in here at the formations I'm using and looking at the min-max. So right there, we have Awakened Chimera, we have Liberta, we have Athalia, we have Lucius, we have Leica. When you look at the 80, the only place that the 80 is really prevalent is PvP. The Endeavor ability only works in the PvP faction, meaning really pushing the envelope for the Treasure Scramble. I know a little bit of higher stats for other game modes, but overall, the 80 is very expensive, and the only place is really the PvP. Is it worth doing the 80? No, I do not recommend it at all. I can remember Lucilla was bad when it first came out. Yeah, I know. So a couple of heroes, even looking at Lucilla, most players were not using Lucilla when she came out. But we've seen the same through time. And the biggest kind of one that we think is when you look at Queen. Queen came out with Joker. Joker had utility. Queen had 0. Nobody ever used Queen. There was never a reason to use Queen. Then all of a sudden the 5 pull became prevalent. Queen was used every single formations for a year and a half, which was kind of crazy. Campaign grind is a pain. Yes, Alfredus. That's the reason why we've kind of stalled where we're at right now. The campaign formation, it is an absolute pain to get through, and it's just time. It is really, really just time. What do I think about Eironn in the Treasure Scramble and Curse Realm? So it seems like burst damage, and we kind of talked about this when we did the tier list, is when it comes to Eironn, there are some places where Eironn is being used. See, even right there is Nyla. Big reason to build out Nyla. Right there we have Hilduin and we have Amelia. There's Liberta in there. There is Eironn. So again, when you think of the build, and this is really something to take note on, is when you look at the Awakened version of Eironn and when you look at the battle stats, you can see right here with the Daemon team, we can even play this. They are running 5 heroes. This is where Eironn is kind of stuck in where we're not seeing the benefit or the utility of the hero, is when you look at the Awakened version of Eironn, boom, there's the tornado. Everybody's together. So think about this. Let me pause this for a second. So thinking of the methodology and how Eironn works, this is very, very important with the heroes specifically. And again, this is something to take note. With the Awakened version of Eironn, he has a very big tornado. He has a very, very big AoE effect. The AoE effect and the damage that he's dealing right here is on 5 targets. It is hitting 5 heroes. So the multiplication factor is Eironn does damage. He is doing it 5x because there is 5 targets. That, of course, is the reason why, even when you start looking at the battle, why his damage is going through the roof is because he is hitting all 5 of those targets. We know in the Cursed Realm Nightmare Corridor, there are some game modes where there are less than 5 targets. There's some where there's 3. Nightmare Corridor, there is only 1 single boss, meaning that Eironn doing damage to 1 target versus doing damage to 5 targets is not going to be as strong, again, just because of the multiplication factor of having all of those additional targets. That is why in a game mode like this with 5 targets, why he is absolutely shining is because he has the ability to hit all 5 heroes. And of course, all 5 heroes do not die. That is the other thing to remember, is when you think of this game mode, you are ramping up the squad damage that you're doing in here. The targets do not die. This again is something to remember when it comes to like a Treasure Scramble with him. It's a 5v5, but if the targets are dying, he is going to do far less damage because there are far less targets. So again, it feels like overall he's going to be niche in a lot of formations, but when you start looking at the Nightmare Corridor and looking at a couple things in here, a lot of places where we only have 1 single target, his damage is not going to go through the roof because there is only 1 single target, which again is the big part. kind of to remember. Thank you. Yeah, guys. And Mesmer, definitely Alfred us. Thank you guys for answering some of these questions if I'm not getting to them. I know there's a lot that are coming through there. I have the Awakened version of Baden at Legendary Plus. Should I make him Ascended? The interesting thing with the Awakened version of Baden is if you're looking right here, we are starting to see the Awakened version of Baden being replaced. This is the first time that we're actually starting to see it. And I feel like, again, with the Awakened version of Baden being a first generation Awakened hero, the power creep at this point might have started taking over the game modes of that Awakened version of Baden. If you can borrow him, definitely well worth it. But I feel like building him out right now, you might not see the utility of him, and you might not have a lot of utility with him because we're starting to see him get a lot of really power creep that is going on there. What's going on, Luna? For Baden, the older hero, yeah, and that's it. So we're starting to see, like what Mesmer said, we're starting to see him being replaced right now. He was always best in slot Nightmare Corridor, Cursed Realm. Now we're starting to see him be replaced. Treasure Scramble, he's already been far replaced. So it seems like Gevitt, probably another, I mean, even month, 2, 3, he's going to be replaced. I'm still surprised Vika's used in Nightmare Corridor. So the thing with that is the ability, again, to bring everyone together. So it's very similar to what we just look with the Awakened version of Eironn, is when you look at Vika in the gyros, we've kind of played around with it, is when she has the ability to keep and pull everyone together. But here it is the one target. So this is where, as you can see, it just bounces between one target, and there's all 5. This also is burst damage. You have to think, this was less than what? That was 9 seconds. 9 seconds for the boss skill. Burst damage works incredibly well because also you can link and you can amplify the damage that are in here just based on the ability of the heroes. And this, again, is kind of by design where Vika has to be to the point of right there. So we're running Ivan, we're running Vika. Ivan is buffing up Vika, and then Vika, of course, with the ultimate ability, and you'll see when Vika actually does the ultimate, which of course is amplified by Lorzen right here, and then of course the damage mitigation, everything else coming in, and then of course Demia buffing it up a little bit further. Vika has the ability to get all of the buffs for the entire team, just based on right there, it's bouncing back and forth. Once the 5 hits, once you see her ult, it's game over because it's 5 targets, 5 of those gyros going on one single target, just burning it down in an instant. And of course, burst damage, that is where it comes from. Even though there's not multiple targets for the gyro or the gyro to actually bounce between, it's the 5-on-1 that literally just cripples the boss with all of those buffs out of there. I currently have Owl at 13 and Seal at 9. Who do I focus? Seal. 2D, the Seal is the priority when it comes to, when you talk about still an absolute broken beast, it is the Seal. It is the Seal in the entirety that you do want to build out. The Seal is broken. Once you start getting the Seal higher, the Seal can do so much damage where Seal is best in slot in a ton of different teams. The Seal will do a crazy amount of damage. After I finish out Lavatune, who should I build? Once you have Lavatune, Lucilla. Yeah, Lucilla would be a very, very good build. Vathiel or Kelthin, Awaken Gavis, Lucilla, Eironn. Out of those, honestly, I would probably go with Sophia. I like Sophia out of there. Lucius, again, Lucius would be a good choice as well. Eironn, it's too early to tell. Cam, I would wait to see exactly where everyone kind of falls in. Vathiel or Kelthin, I would build in Kelthin. Vathiel is another one where as a hype or celestial hero, we're using him for not only a little bit of damage, but he is a really good buffer. That is the other thing. When it comes to his skills and abilities, he's a really good buffer as a tank, but Kelthin is being used in a lot more places where Vathiel is not. And also, again, with that buffing aspect, with the support heroes we have, we can use a lot of other buffers in there that will be and really used in a bunch of different places. Yeah, the 5 targets, he's dealing more damage. Yes, it is the 5 targets. What do you think, AFK Companion? So interesting. AFK Companions, we don't know. And again, this is where I posed a lot of different questions when it comes to AFK Arena. If you guys caught the videos when it comes to AFK Companions, I don't know if it's going to be a standalone game similar to AFK Arena. Are they going to replace it? Is it going to be, its own? I don't see them replacing it. Are they going to do some sort of integration between the things in AFK Arena Companions that was working well? Because remember, we had quite a few changes to the campaign, also had a ton of changes to the Beast Grounds. Some of the biggest sticking points within AFK Arena, they kind of addressed in Companions. So again, it's going to be kind of interesting to see exactly where that comes out or how it really comes out. What they're going to use it for, again, is really a big question mark. And I know that's the same for most players. Most players, it's a big question mark on what that's going to be. I mean, that could make a Menace team with Demia, Lucila, Liberta, Lavatune. Yeah, there's a lot of big ones and a lot of tough ones. But yes, building out the seal, 100%. How much of a priority is signature item for Thoran? Thoran, the thing with Thoran is the 30 signature item, if you want him to work and you want him to work well, you have to build it. The only thing with Thoran is the only place that he's being used in the campaign formations. That's Belief. That is the big thing, is the only place he's being used in the campaign, and he's only being used in specific formations where he is, where he's being used essentially. Is it a requirement to have it? Again, you can make it work without it. It's very hard to do because of the retaliation. You can do it with just an unlock. The 30 is going to give him the second retaliation. So honestly, if you're running the Thoran cheese in campaign formations, yes, I would do the 30. I would absolutely do the 30. I have a decent build account, but I'm missing Awakened Baden and Lucius. As time goes, I feel like not having Awakened Lucius calling a real pain. You could build him. Awakened Lucius. Moochman is a good hero used in a lot of different formations. Like I said, with the Awakened version of Lucius, you do and have to have a really big build. That is one of the big things. If you have Athalia, if you have Shamira, if you have Leica, Lucius does work, and Lucius does work very well. But keep in mind, it is a very big build to see the effectiveness of him. If you don't have Lucius built, and just to kind of put it into perspective, is the Awakened version of Lucius, when you start getting into any level deficiency, he gets melted. The defense rating on him isn't high enough. He isn't strong enough. Defense-wise, he will get run over in his entirety unless you have him at a really big build. If it's equal level, it will work well, and he does work well. But when you start getting, again, to that higher deficiency level, he gets just absolutely train wrecked because he doesn't have enough defensive ability to actually keep himself alive, which, again, is kind of tough. Even here, you can see we got a piece for the Awakened version of Lucius. Now in here, I am building up Lucius, and specifically for the min-maxing that we kind of talked about. You can see we have the max furniture right here. This built out and added a crazy amount of defense rating. Now we're doing the exact same right here. The crit damage resistance. We are trying to build up, or really overbuild, the Awakened version of Lucius. That way he has a lot more utility in the PvP aspect. Also increasing really his survivability. When you think of a hero and when you think of the survivability, for the Awakened version of Lucius, it is not there. He needs a lot more to have the survivability aspect. He gets run over. He gets crushed in pretty much any level deficiency. Even when you start using him in the tower, got to use him pretty much in a very specific formation, or he does get run over. Can I show you the Treasure Scramble teams? Absolutely. Guys, everything in here ranks 70, so we increased a little bit. Looking at where we're at, so this is what I'm running right now for my 4 team. We can kind of move it a little bit. So that is what I'm running right now for the 4 team. And again, thinking a lot of the heroes that we have that 80 signature item, or excuse me, 80 engraving on, that is the reason, is the Endeavor ability and the PvP aspect. Even looking here, I've taken a lot of these heroes and actually put them up to a 60 signature item. Or excuse me, the 60 engraving, again, because I wanted to perform better in this game mode specifically. So we focused on what heroes are we building. Even looking when you start getting into 5 teams, it's kind of the same. You can see a majority of these heroes do have the E60 engraving. We built them up quite a bit to where we have these teams set. Now, Hilduin is one that I know we do have to build up a little bit higher. And of course, a couple other ones like Meleon, we want to get a few more on there to get the engraving, which I think in the Dragonforge, we built and bought all the insignias. Now we can pick up all of these, and that is it. That is all we can get from the Dragonforge. That is done in its entirety. Now, when it comes to building out these, we have a crazy amount of these. I have been maxing and building out. Boom, there's another 100 of our engraving, but that does it. Now, of course, the reset, the reward calculation, the reset is going to come in 6 more days. That is going to reset this, meaning we're going to go back to getting more insignias within the Dragonforge. That gives us 20 more scrolls out of here. Again, wishlist wise, we're trying to get Meleon to actually engrave him. And then Dragon Temple, we are filling out Hilduin. Now, as much as I would like to get Lan, we are 2 copies short of getting Hilduin up to the ability to engrave him. That is the reason why we're not building Lan at this point, is we do want to get Hilduin with the engraving. And then, of course, in here, we want to get Meleon built up a little bit further with the engraving. And maybe it's another copy of Pulina. And copy number 2 gives us nothing. So unfortunately, again, another 20 scrolls just down the tube. We're not spending any more. Can Gavus work with 1 copy? No. The thing is, you're missing all of the skills and abilities he possesses. So when you think of 1 copy, you'll have the ultimate ability, you'll have the baseline, but everything else you see down here is going to be missing in its entirety. Could he work? Fundamentally, you could put him in a formation. Survivability, probably not going to be there. But yeah, you couldn't. 4 pull until you have 4 ascended normal faction. Yes, like what Marco said, I think that was a question. When you look at building out your heroes and the priority, a lot of players question, when should I start utilizing the Stargazer? When should I start using the Temple of Time? When you look at your heroes, there are 4 primary factions. We have our Lightbearers, we have our Maulers, we have our Wilders, we have our Greyborns. Those are going to be your focus if you're looking probably even the beginning up to probably chapter 30, maybe 32, building out and prioritizing these. Now, when you start getting and moving in the King's Tower with your 4 primary factions, again, Lightbearers, Maulers, the Wilders, and the Greyborn, once you start getting the Stargazer scrolls out of here, that is what you should be using to build. You shouldn't be using your diamonds before then, unless you're a whale, and at that point, just go ahead and build and buy whatever you want. But for a normal player, if you're going in here and you're farming out this Tower of Light, let's say you're picking up right here with your Stargazer scrolls, this is going to be what you're going to be using your Stargazer for. As you make progression and as you make more progression with your 4 primary factions, there's going to be a point where you have a majority of the meta heroes built out. You're getting Stargazer scrolls on a regular basis. When you're doing that, that is when you can start using diamonds kind of to go ahead and utilize the Stargazer. But you'll notice really, really fast that you're getting Stargazer scrolls out of here on a regular basis with having those 4 primary factions built. Once you unlock the Celestial Sanctum and the Infernal Fortress a little bit later, that again is the time that maybe you want to start moving some of those resources over there, because it does really make a big, big difference when it comes to progression to go ahead and build those out. I've awakened Belinda, Sophia, or Thalia, Leica, Sophia, Shamira, Solus. You could do Lucius, even looking at there, Lord, you could do Lucius in there. Again, it requires a really big build out. Depending how many cards you have, you could also go ahead and wait to save to see who's coming out next. You could always just, sit tight for a little bit and see who comes next. Or Eironn. Eironn might be a very, very big, really a big hero. We don't know yet. It might be too early. What is going on, Peter? And look at that, guys. Subscriber number 2. Is it Stinky? Stinky, our 2nd subscriber right there. Thank you for subbing to the channel. The new hero, good. It's okay. Do you get the dragon gear? No. The Draconic gear in here, guys, when you look at the cost of the Draconic gear, it's not worth it. It is not worth it by any means to get the Draconic gear. Gear has a very, very, very low minimal effect when it comes to building out the heroes, especially because going in here, the difference between getting like a tier 4 piece. Now, of course, these were rewards for different things we've seen. We've never bought the tier 4 gear, but when you look at what you're getting here, the stats are so small for getting the gear in comparison to what you're getting on the tier 3 gear. It's not worth it. I would much rather have the higher signature item. I'd much rather, honestly, personally, I would much rather have the hero. I would rather have copies of, Lan, or buying the insignias out of there, getting Gwen, getting Hildwyn, even getting Melion, getting Nyla. I would not by any means ever buy out of the Draconic Isles. I would never buy the gear. This is super expensive. I mean, you're talking, this is 20 scrolls that you would be forfeiting out of here that you couldn't buy. Because you've seen, I bought these last two. That was it. We had just a little tiny left. I think it was 40 or 80 left. No, you need the insignias, you need the scrolls, even if you're not using them. If you're literally just sitting and stockading and building a giant mound of insignias, it is well worth it. It is way more worth it than buying out the gear. And because you get these out of summons, both the Draconic Speak and the epic emblems, do not buy them either at all. The reason being, you need the heroes. You will get them, and you do get so many of them through summons. And I'll show you exactly what we built. So we have used all of our Draconic emblems for the heroes themselves. Even looking here, we have 1,000 epic Dragon Speak emblems, 372 in the Dragon Speak emblems on the regular ones. And that, of course, when you look at the heroes, we have a 40 right here. We have a 30, we have a 20, a 30, a 30, a 20, and all of the heroes we built with the Dragon Speak emblems through the regular summons. There's no reason to buy them. Again, they're very expensive in there. You get them through the regular summons. You need to get them. And then, of course, Polina's in there. Polina is the worst. Out of all of the Draconic heroes, I'd probably run a Gorgie just because he's so darn cute with his little mushroom. I would run Gorgie before I run Polina in formations, just for the simple fact that I'm sad to see that Polina doesn't do very well. What is the minimum investment for Eironn? 309.60, yes, Patrick. I would absolutely, if you're doing the Awakened version of Eironn, and again, the reason being 309.60 is kind of the minimum for these heroes, because if you're not building them and if you're not really focused on them, they're going to be missing a big chunk. So the way that I see it is when you look at all 4 of these skills, if you're missing a part of the hero, let's say you don't do the engraving, you don't do the furniture, you're missing all of these skills. You're missing all of these skills. So just thinking about, when you have the hero, you're sitting at about 25 to 30% of the skills. And then I just look at it as, if I don't have the signature item in here, I'm missing 25% of the skills. If I don't have the furniture, I'm missing another 25% of the skills. That is the reason Awakened heroes specifically do require the 309.60 minimum. And even looking at, when you think about the minimum investment, Patrick, is even with heroes like Athalia, like Leica, very similar to Eironn, I even take the engraving up a little bit higher. So adding in some of the accuracy insight, but crit damage amplification and crit, and then also crit and insight and the attack rating. So usually we build these heroes to a 67, 66, 67. We even take them a little bit higher just to add all of the damage attributes in there. And we do that with all of our damage dealing heroes. I think even going back like Saurus, nope, we kept them at a 60. A lot of them we did build up a little bit higher than a 60, just to add some more stats on there, to add a little bit more of that damage factor that we have. And I'm thinking all of these we kept at 60, or we reset to 60. But again, keeping them, we started min-maxing a while ago. There's a 61 again, adding in a little bit more of the haste factor on there. You can do it for a bunch of different heroes. If you don't want to build them all the way up to 60, you can even do that at 30, where once they have the 30 engraving, you can go to 34, 36. You can do the same just to add a little bit more of the damage factor in there, and really just building them up a little bit further out of there. Let me make sure before we're done, guys, that we do the membership gifting. I don't want to forget, we do this every single time. Should be able to, and it will pop up in just a minute. We give away 1 free membership, which is going to pop up again just in a moment. And congratulations. Let's see who it goes out to. Enwa. It goes out to Enwa. Thank you guys for joining me for the stream. It's awesome to see. But again, wait on Eironn. I cannot stress it enough. When it comes to building out these Awakened heroes, guys, they require a very high investment. And if you're currently working and really utilizing an Awakened hero, just continue to build out the hero you have. I again, cannot stress that enough. If you're building out an Awakened hero right now, if you're working on Athalia or Leica or whoever it is, continue to build it out. Continue to finish out the heroes. if you have a hero, and again, same goes for Celestials and Hypo heroes, you have to make sure that you're building them out and you're building them out in their entirety. I still utilize lists, even right here for my other game. If you guys haven't checked out the other channel, I play Guild of Guardians, which is an NFT game. Also do the finance channel, so we're crazy with YouTube right now. But I keep lists. I keep lists in their entirety, and I'm sure that the camera might have focused in. I keep lists of the heroes that I'm building in this game. I keep lists in other games. I have such a kind of dedicated focus where I will build a hero up to the point where I want that hero to be built, and then I move systematically, and that has really kept me on track with AFK Arena. And again, it's been 5 years we've been playing this game, is keeping the focus and keeping on track with a very, very specific hero that you're building, and then pumping all of your resources into that hero. A lot of times what we see is a player will be building, let's say for instance, the awakened version of Leica. All of a sudden Eironn comes out, oh, it's new, it's shiny. Players hop over, they start building the awakened version of Eironn. And then again, another hero comes out, a different hero comes out. All of a sudden resources kind of move to there. And it's almost just like squirrel, like chasing the rabbit, trying to follow exactly what is going on and seeing where exactly, you know, what is going on in the trail. It leaves a bunch of half-built or non-built heroes. They're wondering why their account's not progressing. They're wondering why they can't make a lot of utility. It is because they are looking and moving to a bunch of different things, and they're moving way, way too fast to be able to build these out. Now, I know the awakened version of Eironn. Let's throw him on here. A lot of players not too impressed with the way that this hero looks. Overall, I think some of the blue kind of to mesh in there, and we have a lot of frames in here. Now, one thing to remember, and when it comes to these frames, is you can only wear one. I know we have a lot of cool frames. We have a lot of the old school frames. You can only have one, and you can only have one at a time. So even then, you know, going in here, Harold's Frolic, there we go. So we have our green frame for our Wilder. A lot of players put a crazy, crazy, stupid amount of money into frames and things like that. Guys, you can only use one. I only buy things in the game, and that is where I've been kind of stuck with buying skins, things of that nature. I only buy things in any game that I have ever played that bring more benefit, that bring more utility into the game. That's the reason, again, when you look at all of the pay-to-win skins, when you look at the merchant tab, I don't buy any of the pay-to-wins. I think we bought one as a Christmas present. But when you start looking at the skins, any of these that are the purchase skins, I don't buy them because they don't have utility in the game. I love how the characters look and how the characters, a lot of them originally look, because you also notice a lot of the skins that we do have, we don't use. There's a couple that I do. There's some skins that we do not, that we own, that we do not use. Again, because there's some skins that I like the original. I like the OG look of what they are. I didn't know I even skipped Chimera. Yeah, Chimera's good. Chimera is really good. Do you have a guide for Heroes of Espria teams? I do. If you look in there, there's a lot in there. How many copies do I need for Awakened Heroes that's free to play? I believe it's 12. I think it is 12 because you get them at Legendary, but then Legendary Plus is 3, Mythic is 3, Mythic Plus is 3, Ascended is 3. So I think it's 12. I think it is 12 that you have in there. What should I pick from the Lightborn Dragon Chest, the Highborn Dragon Chest? Pick the hero. Always pick the hero, guys. When you think of the hero, if that's the chest you're talking about that has Lan, or the chest that has Hilduin in there, when you think of the Draconic heroes, it is taking roughly 60 insignias to get a hero, meaning that if you go in there with a Highborn chest, you pick your 20 insignias, you're getting really a third of a hero. Granted, you could have great luck. You could use 10 insignias. You could get 3 copies. I use stats. I use statistics. When you look in there, getting the hero, you're getting a hero for 20 emblems guaranteed versus going in there and building them out. We have a time frame from the next dimensional. We don't right now. God, unfortunately, we do not know. I don't know why they're talking about a crossover. I know there was a lot of talk about a crossover. Don't know if the dimensional crossover is going to happen this year or if it's going to wait till next year to actually get them there. One quick question, Chimera or Athalia. Out of those two, I like Athalia. Athalia is one, again, utility-wise, I do personally, and again, if you're building you say, you know, the question is Chimera or Athalia. My answer is both. It is really both. Personally, for me, I do like the awakened version of Athalia as much as I do really treasure and love Chimera. I do like the awakened version of Athalia for the instant ability to burst damage down teams. When you look even going into, you know, the Misty Valley, a couple other places, Athalia will finish a formation in 3 seconds. And that happens the same when you get, you know, Temple Rift using her in there. She can delete formations in their entirety, all 5 heroes, in literally a matter of seconds. Chimera, the battles are much, much longer, even though the utility is there for the hero. Battles can definitely take a little bit longer with Chimera. I love the ability and, again, the methodology, how Athalia works. I would choose Athalia. That I would definitely choose. What's going on, Primo? Could you recommend which heroes to get to 40? Honestly, when you look at 40, your damage dealers. So big picture, when you look at your damage dealers and when you look at your primary damage dealers, so thinking of Liberta, thinking of, you know, of Leica, thinking of Chimera, thinking of any heroes that are really the big damage dealing heroes. And the reason being, they are dependent on stats. When you start looking at a plus 30 to a plus 40, the stats just exponentially explode when you're building them because, of course, they add a lot of those secondary stats. When it starts adding in more physical pierce, the erosion, the magic resist, when it starts adding in the secondary stats, and especially a hero like Athalia, you're getting crit, physical pierce, and magic, or MS. I forget, is that magic suppression? I think MS is the magic suppression. So again, you're adding a lot of additional stats here with more crit, more physical pierce. Because of adding those on top of the attack stats and everything else that you're getting, it does work very, very well. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's stream. Thank you guys for joining me so much. I love being able to talk to you about AFK Arena. Definitely wanted to answer a lot of questions. And Mesmer, again, big shout out to you as well as Alfredus answering the questions that I can't get to. I try to get to all that we can, but there's times where they're coming through, explanations, questions roll through. So thank you guys. Big shout out to Mesmer for answering and covering a lot of the questions, guys. And of course, there's a lot of people who have a crazy amount of AFK Arena content that I do lean on, that of course on Discord, a couple other places. Absolutely, guys. It's very, very cool to see that we have a lot of players, including myself, that love AFK Arena. It is a lot of fun to see. All right, guys, so again, that is going to do it for Sunday stream. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the stream. If you catch it, what exactly you do like about it. And of course, thank you guys for watching.